Hi everybody, Mike Brown with you again. Welcome back to Educator.com's Adobe Photoshop Elements 11 course. In this lesson, let's talk about brushes. One of the most important tools that you have in Photoshop Elements in your arsenal. And you use them with all sorts of other tools. And this is brushes. For example, the selection brush has a brush. The spot healing brush, the rubber stamp tool, the smudge, sharpen, blur, smart brush, sponge, all utilize brushes, which you can have adjustments for size, flows, all sorts of adjustments. And then, of course, in the drawing tools, there's the brush tool, which has a subset with an impressionistic brush and a color replacement brush. So it is important that you understand how brushes work, what you can do with them. So let's get started. In this lesson, we're going to talk about basic brushes, the brush controls, which are down here under brush settings, creating a custom brush, using the impressionistic brush to create artistic creations, and using the color replacement brush that allows you to replace colors in an image. So let's talk about basic brushes first, and how a brush works and what it is. Your basic brush, in the options panel here, this shows, the drop-down menu shows, in this case, the default brush list, and there are all the shapes available. In the default brushes, there's a drop-down list of all sorts of different sets of brushes that you can put all of the same settings that we're going to discuss onto with different shapes. But let's stay with the default brushes, and right now the default is a circular brush with 100% opacity, and in most of our controls, you're dealing with size and hardness, or size, hardness, and opacity. Opacity is the density of the ink at 100%. If we take this brush and just draw a line, it lays down 100% black ink. If we adjust that down to 50% with one stroke, it's laying only 50% opacity. If we go down to something like 20%, every time you stroke, it's 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%, and finally you get to black. That's how the opacity works. This is how the size works. Now, you notice that the size, obviously, is the circle. We've gone over that before. To change size, let's pick up an image here. Let's say we wanted to do some color work or with a brush on this flower right here, and I needed to make the brush exactly the size of the center of the flower. I can do it by adjusting my slider, but I have to keep going back and forth to make sure it's the right size. Remember my shortcut before? I've told you this, very simple, use it all the time. Right bracket key increases your brush size, left bracket key brings it down. So if you want to fit, say, this pink flower center, just right bracket key until the brush fits. That simple saves you an enormous amount of time. The second shortcut is for opacity of the ink. And that is, don't use your slider. Use your numeric keys 1 through 0. 0 is 100% opacity. Any of the numbers are the percentages. For example, the number 5 will be 50%. I'm just going to hit the number 5. Notice that the slider changed to 50%. 2 would be 20%. 8, 80%. 0, 100%. If you want an intermediate number, such as 37%, hit the two numbers in quick succession, 3, 7, and you've got it. If you hit the 3 and pause and then hit the 7, it'll shift from 30 to 70, like 45, 4, 5, there you have it. So right bracket up, left bracket down, hit the numbers for opacity, and you'll save yourself an enormous amount of time. Okay, brush shapes are here. The sets of shapes are under here. That takes care of the basics. All right, so let's go back, and that is your basic brushes. Let's go with a color of red for the foreground color. By the way, when you paint with a brush using the regular brush, it paints with the foreground color. Remember, with And you'll see this with a selection brush. When you paint mask, it paints the foreground color just like with a normal. When you paint away, you paint with the foreground color in another color. So, okay, we've talked about basic brushes now, and we only have 45%. That's why that came out. Go to 0, and now I have a red check mark. Brush control.